It's a bad economy, bad decisions by Joe Biden, high gas prices. They're all affecting Latinos. We're an entrepreneurial business class. The issues, number two, the issues have been bad for Biden. He seems to pick the issues that don't resonate with Latinos. He puts his weight behind climate change, and suddenly the Democratic Party is talking about transgender athletes and defunding the police and issues that aren't resonating with Latinos. And lastly, in the minor category, I'll say, there's a tendency among Democrats to treat African Americans and Latinos, you mentioned it earlier, as if they were the same. And they're not the same. They have different perspectives on things like progressive prosecutors or defunding the police, certainly on CRT, right? Critical race theory. So it's been a bad fit for Democrats to try to say, well, you're all non-white, you must have that in common, we'll treat you all the same. It's as if, Bill, 100 years ago, the Democratic Party had said, we're going to take the Italian Americans and the Irish Americans in Boston and treat them the same, and we'll just call them Northeast ethnics, right? Because it's convenient, it's not going to work. But here's the big reason. I said there was a big reason. Bill, here's how politics works, as you well know. Nobody gets any votes unless their opponent gives them an opening. The Democratic Party has given the Republican Party a huge opening with Hispanics because they do not understand my community. They've taken my community for granted. They've neglected us, ignored us. It's amazing the amount of loyalty Latinos have shown to the Democratic Party. In the last 15 presidential elections, going back to 1960, Democrats have always gotten the majority of the Latino vote. And in return, they've delivered very little to Latinos. So those are the big reasons why you're seeing what you're seeing.
But the way the Democratic Party is structured now with the progressives in charge, very, very, very hard to persuade Latinos that the Democrats are on their side for one really big reason. A lot of Latin voters in America are religious based. They're all Catholic, okay? Now, not all of them practice, but the tenet of traditional Christianity / traditional family, and you come from one, a traditional family, that is totally opposite what the progressives are putting forth. And you mentioned CRT, you mentioned the social agenda where traditions are just banished everywhere. So even if the economy were decent, Latinos have got a cultural problem with the Democratic Party, correct?
Yes, they do. And here, I'll put a finer point on it, Bill. It has to do with authority figures. Latinos, for better or for worse, we fall in line behind authority figures. We have strong families around a strong father figure, typically, right? And we have oftentimes very strict fathers who take that responsibility very seriously. So we fall in line behind the Catholic Church, which is about authority figures, behind police officers and police who are about authority figures. We're never going to be in favor of defunding the police. You know, as you know, I believe your grandfather was a police officer. My father was a cop. You come from a culture, and the Irish Americans are like this, along with the Mexican Americans, where you're raised around law enforcement. You know, we're raised to respect authority. So I think there is a cultural bent there that works against the Democrats and their current configuration. You're right.